Welcome back to another episode of What's New in Beauty. My name is Nia Lee, and I'm super excited to have you guys here. If it's your first time tuning in, this is essentially the beauty podcast where I love to talk about new and exciting things happening in the beauty industry, and of course, give my 2 cents on it. Well, for today's episode, I'm doing things a little bit differently, talking about 5 things your beauty brand needs to have in 2024. I'm talking about this because y'all loved when I dropped my gems about what you need to be doing for Black Friday and any of the episodes where I've just kind of gone off the cuff with essentially anything that y'all need to be doing with your beauty brands. And so I'm going to come through with another one because I just think every beauty brand needs to be doing this, because if not 2024, then when, sis? Like, I got to keep it a buck with you. Like, there's brands that I've been seeing do similar things like this, but no brands have really done all of it. And I don't know if it's because at the end of the day, you know, products are the things that really pay the bills. But when I think of brands and beauty businesses and whatnot, like, I'm really thinking about the brand more so than anything. And I think the brand is really important because your business can honestly sell and put out anything, right? You can have customers from all different walks of life. However, when you have a brand, you can honestly sell anything, right? You can do anything. You can sell, not do anything, but you can essentially sell anything and people are going to love it because they love your brand. They love everything that you're about. They love your ethos, they love your aesthetic, they love your traits, they love your, the partnerships that you do. So as a brand, I really want, first off, for all of y'all to just look at your business as a brand from here on out, because when you have a brand and a really, really strong brand and a brand that people know, like, and trust, you can literally sell anything. So instead of focusing so much on the products, I want you to focus on your brand. Now, that's not one of the things that your brand needs to have in 2024, but I just want to say that off the cuff and just off rip, you guys need to be thinking of your business as a brand, because I'm sitting here and telling you, if there's any of these companies and whatnot that you guys love, I'm gonna sit here and tell y'all, sure, you love the products, but I guarantee you just love the brand, and that's why you're supporting it. And sure, yes, there are products that you love, but there's a reason why you're choosing those products over another brand product. Because as we all know, the wheel has been reinvented 80 gazillion different times. But there's a reason why you gonna want the wheel on a Tesla versus the wheel on a Honda, right? And vice versa. Not saying any of or is bad. I'm just saying there's a reason as to why you make those choices. Now, going into 5 things your beauty brand needs to have in 2024. Right off rip, I'm talking about audio and video podcast, or some sort of audio video series where people really get a sense of your brand and your business behind the curtain. Now, as we saw, podcasts have definitely taken off in the last 3 years, maybe even 5 years as well too. I mean, it's been a booming industry for so many people, particularly creators, business owners, founders, you name it. It's just been across the board, have just been the wave of where everything is going. Now, I think it's really important, and I think it's really dope and innovative for beauty brands to have audio and visual podcasts or just control over their entire image, because we're just wanting to see more of what it takes to run a business outside of you just showing me, behind the scenes here and there. Like, actually talk to your consumers and talk to your community in a way that you're actually bringing them into the fold and giving them just more than just the behind the scenes of you packing orders or, going to the post office, but actually talking about the things that you're going through as a business owner, or about things that happen in the business itself, and really get to curate what that story looks like and actually get to bring, again, like I said, your community and customers into that fold. The audio portion is pretty simple, but the video portion is the thing that's really going to take off, because as we know, video is queen. And people just want to see those elements of your brand and your business, or founders as well, or employees, or whatever it might be, because we're just in a time now where everybody just wants to see everything. And I guess depending on how you run your business and your brand, you might not want to do that. But I'm sitting here and telling you, the brands that are out here killing it and doing really, 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 really well are bringing their customers and their clients and their everybody and their community and all the C's. They're bringing them all into the fold of what it means to run a business. And when I see, Marina Hewitt, for example, who has her podcast and she's the CEO and the founder of Summer Fridays, she's obviously had that podcast. I don't actually know when she launched it. I don't know if it was obviously, I think it was definitely before or maybe a little bit after she ended up launching the brand. But I've noticed that she constantly talks and also advertises her brand and Summer Fridays consistently. And Marina Hewitt herself is a brand in a sense. She's an influencer, pretty much in that OG kind of space, but constantly talking about her brand and her business, constantly actually, I know brands will do podcasts will do things where they'll have sponsors. She'll actually use Summer Fridays as a sponsor for the podcast, which I think is so smart, especially for audio or even particularly for video as well too. If you create like a really cool kind of B-roll commercial for your brand, I just think that's so smart and so cool and so different. And I haven't really been seeing too many brands actually start it. I know like Pretty Little Thing has like a YouTube channel where they'll put out like original content or anything in relation to that, but it all kind of falls in line with this kind of media platform or this media arm of your business, because I think now more than ever, as we've just been seeing how entrepreneurship and business, being a business owner and small businesses, bigger businesses, you name it, that is just the way that everybody is going. And that's what people want to see. I mean, how many times are you sitting there and listening to podcasts with founders and with entrepreneurs, either giving you game or showing, sharing their stories, their ups, their downs, all those things that are happening. So you can also do the same thing for your brand as well and really bring, like I said, your community into the fold of what you're going through. And I think the audio portion is dope because people are again out and about, they want to do different things. But when you have that video component now you're actually like allowing people to tune into your channel, your ecosystem, the things that you actually have going on as a business owner. And I just think it's just so smart for you to do that, because let's just say anything goes down with your products or you've got to pivot or you've got to do something different. I just think having this arm or this audio visual podcast or again, this media series or something in relation to that where, people get a sense of who you are. Again, this goes into building that brand because again, we could hear about the mishaps or, customers might be upset that, products are late or that products are out of stock. But if you go on a podcast or again, create your own and talk to your clients and consumers and talk to your customers and talk to your community, you then have an opportunity to build a relationship and build a bridge, so much so that now your community actually gets a sense of who you are and understands what it takes to run a business, because lo and behold, people just don't know, right? Consumers are going to consume and that's what they're going to do. But as a founder or as a CEO or a brand owner or a business owner, you have so many things going on. And I think, long gone are the days of those things being taboo. I just think you have to figure out a way to do it in a very cool, clever, aesthetically pleasing way that matches your brand and everything that you're doing. And if you can show B-roll, if you can show those behind the scenes element, if you can, again, bring forth people who we maybe have not been able to see in your business because these are just people who are at their jobs. They're part of different things, but I just think when you bring people into the fold that way and you are in control of your own narrative, you then get to really build something outside of just selling products. As we know, products are products. I use this analogy all the time. You could have the best products in the world, but if your branding, your marketing, all that stuff just doesn't line up, no one's going to care. Versus we see products that aren't that great to some, or again, maybe cheap quality, or again, just not, made correctly, but have amazing branding, amazing marketing, an amazing story, all these elements that are really important at the end of the day to what I truly believe are the main important things. Like you can make a great product, but like I said, if the marketing and the branding's not there, it won't get there. Versus again, the products that aren't great, that do, they're able to soar and they're able to be successful. And now they're able to then make their products better because they actually have the money to do so. And so it's kind of like a reverse engineering a little bit, but also saying to yourself, like, am I in control of the narrative of my brand? Meaning, do people get a sense of who I am, who my employees are, what this process is? And how can we bring them into the fold that way so that they can see us more than just a company that sells products? And I think I've seen different people and I've seen different, brands will try to do different versions of this as well too. They'll maybe start like a YouTube channel, they'll do like a vlog series, they'll do some sort of like reel series, they'll do so many different things. But I think turning it into a podcast where now you can like actually, get sponsors, again, being your own sponsor or getting sponsors as well, or again, creating extra revenue if you monetize your podcast as well too on these platforms, but also on YouTube. I think it just is just a smart decision that you have to make for your brand and ask yourself, like, what can we do outside of just selling product? Because products are products, right? If your products are great, of course, people are going to keep coming back. But as we know, branding and what your brand is really all about is what's going to bring people back. So audio, video, podcast. I'm really heavy on the video portion as well too, because I think you can sell the story a lot more in video. I think people seeing you interact is an important thing, but definitely having that audio is going to be, it's a given. If you're recording for the video, you're going to record for the audio. So having some sort of a podcast, some sort of media platform, media production, it all falls in line of what I think that your beauty brand needs to have for 2024. Next up, I was talking about this in the last podcast episode, which is all about AI and tech initiatives. Now, the way that beauty is going, we're just seeing a lot more brands tapping into AI, AR, just anything tech related, because again, it just shows that you are willing to do things differently and you're willing to innovate when brands are just coming up with things out of thin air. And that's fine. And we see different brands that will have different, cycles of ingredients. Like I think 2 years ago, bakuchiol was or bakuchiol, however you pronounce it, was the ingredient that every brand had to use and was saying it was an alternative for retinol and this, that, and the third. And that was cute. But it's like now we're getting into a time when the technology is getting better. We're also getting a lot more brands, like I had mentioned in the previous episode, where people actually want to use products that are very similar to what their skin is. If I'm going to use a product and it's going to take away more from my skin, or it's going to do a lot more damage than what it's supposed to, or it's just not as natural and as quote unquote sustainable as I want it to be, then they're going to start kind of side-eyeing you and not being excited. And I just think in the day of where we are in the beauty industry, if you are not willing to innovate, whether it's packaging, whether it's your branding, whether it's ingredients, like you're kind of a little bit forgotten about, unless you're a legacy brand like a CeraVe, like a Cetaphil, like a L'Oreal, like all these brands. Even L'Oreal has acquired in the last 3 or 4 years, they've acquired Youth to the People. They've acquired so many brands that have just done innovative things. For example, K18 Hair, K18 just recently acquired from Unilever. A brand that just came out the gate doing things differently in hair care. They weren't necessarily revolutionizing the industry. And this was a time when everybody and their mom was raving about Olaplex. Remember when everybody and their mom was raving about Olaplex? K18 came out of the gate, went all in on TikTok, and were able to get acquired and also create a lane for themselves that really hadn't been seen in hair care as of much, because everybody was just saying, okay, we're just going to launch products. We obviously saw a boom of curly hair and natural products and what that industry looked like. But even in hair care, the innovation is just not there as much as it is in skincare and certain things like that. So to me, K18 came out the gate doing something different. They, I believe, own the patent as well. So that was also different and very cool and dope. And you can tell everything what they were doing was rooted in tech and bond repair and whatnot. But if you're not asking yourself, how can we innovate with our ingredients or with our packaging or with making our customers and consumers' lives easier by adding in things like AR filters or particular surveys, or helping, you actually curate what your routine is going to be and making everybody's lives easier, you're going to be left behind. I don't know what to say to y'all anymore. We see brands go bankrupt or close down a lot more frequently than we did about 10, 15 years ago. And there's a reason for that. It's because there's brands out here that create products, they're innovative for that particular time, and these brands do not pivot and they don't do anything differently. They get comfortable, or they're saying to themselves, hey, we're not really looking to, and again, they've created a product that isn't new and innovative. So there's also that, right? If we have one eyeshadow palette, we have another one, right? before clean, sustainable used to be the buzzword that could get you on. Now every brand is clean and sustainable or vegan. So what's the differentiator now? You know what I mean? How do you showcase to your customers and to your community that you're willing to actually put the work in to do things differently or add your own signature spin on it? And so I think brands can do this. And I see so many beauty brands experimenting with this as well too, with adding in that AI and again, specifically that tech part of it, whether it is, like I said, in AR filters, whether it's surveys, giving you actual results and actual step-by-step routines, whether, again, personalization in skincare as well too, that has definitely always been an important thing for consumers, but now more than ever where people are just honestly buying the same products. I know for myself as a consumer, I'm honestly just buying the products I've used for the last however many years. And sometimes I'll experiment depending on the brand. And, I'm grateful enough to get brands sending me products. So that's really the only time I'll experiment. But I'm pretty much using the same products from the same brands, and I'll consistently do that. But again, for me as a consumer who's always just interested in things that are new and exciting, I'm always going to have my eye on those things. And I'm always going to have my eye on those brands that are willing to actually stick their neck out and say, we're wanting to do things differently. Like all the brands out here are coming out with moisturizers, but we want to come out with a moisturizer with this particular ingredient. Or all the shampoos on the market are doing this, but we want to do things differently. And so we're just going to see brands who are not afraid to innovate, brands that are not afraid to experiment with tech and do it on their own terms, right? I'm not necessarily saying you've got to be doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, but figure out how you can do it on your own terms that again speaks to your brand specifically and not necessarily just a product, but actually create things that are new and are actually going to make people excited to be a consumer of yours as well too. Because that's the other thing that I notice with a lot of brands is that they get really comfortable with their main customer base and they're like, yeah, like I've got my main customer base and that's great. But you always have to be asking yourself, how can we be bringing new customers and consumers into the fold of what it is that we're doing? And if you're not acquiring new customers every single day or every single quarter or whatever that looks like, then something's up. Because at a certain point, like I said, you're going to have your core base, but you're not going to grow as a brand because everyone's just going to keep buying the same products over and over again. And the only way you're going to be able to get more money is if you raise your prices, which is obviously something that you might not want to do as a brand and a business owner as well. So right off the gate, AI, tech initiatives, experimenting and figuring out what that exactly looks like is definitely something that your brand needs to have in 2024. Next up, beauty merch. Beauty merch. When I tell you, I am thinking about creating beauty merch. I'm not a beauty business owner. I do obviously work in the space of beauty, but if you do not have merch or something that again allows people to know that I am a lover of this brand in the world, because let's just be honest, ain't nobody gonna check for the cream that you have on your face. Some people might ask what lipstick you're wearing. They might ask what eyeshadow is on your lids. But if you now have a piece of merch, whether it's a shirt, a hat, earmuffs, a crew neck, a matching set, slippers, Post-it notes. I know Rare Beauty has Post-it notes. If you're not doing things that really allow people to see your brand outside of your main products, you are losing in 2024, because I'm sitting here and telling you products are not enough. I said this, I think 3 or 4 months ago. Having products is just not enough anymore. You've got to ask yourself, what can we do as a brand? Again, not necessarily as a business, but what can you do as a brand to really be out here? And I actually saw this video, which is a pretty old video, but it was all about the founder of Spanx, who talked about before she, was obviously the multi-millionaire that she is today, or maybe billionaire, but an heir. Wherever she is at, she talked about how she actually wore a t-shirt that had the name Spanx on it everywhere that she went. And so anywhere she went, whether she was talking to a random stranger or a business exec, asked her, what the heck is Spanx? And that got her to do her elevator pitch, and it got her into rooms that probably she wasn't able to get into before, considering she had no prior experience in that field. So I thought it was really interesting that she said that. And that was decades ago. So if you're I don't know what to tell you guys. Merch works It allows people to get a sense of who your brand is, like I said, outside of your products. And if you can come up with something clever, something kitschy, everybody's going to want to wear it because everybody got to wear clothes in some way, shape, or form. And I've just seen brands will come out with merch all the time. And one thing I love about beauty merch as well, too, is that I'm not necessarily saying you got to have it on your website forever. Create a limited run, create different runs for different things, collaborate with other brands, collaborate with other companies. Like Summer Fridays, I know when they came out with their limited merch, I believe they collaborated with another brand to create it. I think Use of the People also did the exact same thing. I just love to see collaborations, and I just love to see things that just make sense. But having beauty merch is what your brand needs outside of just selling product. And I'm not saying you got to have a slew of merch. I'm just saying you've got to have different points of entry for people to get excited about your brand that will allow them to be a long-time lover and, not for nothing, a long-time consumer, because it doesn't matter what you put out. Like I just saw recently that Rare Beauty came out with a candle. Very random. Right? But not also very random because they're clearly moving into a different space with their body care and aromatherapy and whatnot, right? Now, people used to say, oh, their competition was another beauty brand or another makeup brand or another skincare brand. But now their competition could be Sage Wellness, right? They're entering into a new space. And so I think it's really interesting when brands make decisions to do things that are a little bit different, but that still fall in line with who they are. And now you just got to figure out what is the type of merch that we want to launch. You can include your community in that as well. I honestly think it's the most smartest thing that you can do, depending on how small or how big your brand is, including your community in that merch production, including them in the process, giving them behind the scenes, putting a wait list up, just getting people excited about what that looks like. And like I said, it's not something you have to have forever. It could just be a limited run. And again, you could bring it back for as many times as you'd like. But I just love to see brands do this. I know Tower 28 did this in the summer when they launched their limited edition water bottle. I thought that was really cool and cute. I believe they also ended up launching a crew neck, I think, but I could be wrong. But I've seen different brands do it. People get excited about it because everybody loves merch, right? And if you can make that merch like a gift with purchase, you're out of here, man. People love a swag bag. People love a little extra something. So in 2024, your beauty brand needs to have merch. I don't care if it's a pencil. Y'all need to stop playing around. Next up, the thing that your beauty brand needs to have for 2024 is brand ambassadors. Like, guys, brand ambassadors, people that are not just your customer base, but people that are going to be the super fans that are going to advertise your brand while you don't necessarily have to be telling people to buy your products. Now, over the years, we've seen different ways that brands have, added their own spin on ambassadors, whether it's creating a collective, whether, we can shout out to Glow Recipe and their Glow Getters, or I believe their Glow Gang. I'm trying to think of other brands that have like brand ambassadors. They're not coming to me right away, but the Glow Gang immediately came to me because I was just peeping everything that Glow Recipe was doing when they were coming out with this. Everything from the open casting call to, of course, sending all their products out to them so that right around the time that new actual product launches were coming out, all those brand ambassadors in the Glow Gang were able to actually advertise those new products. So in a sense, they ended up giving them free advertising. And I just think having brand ambassadors, having that community within the community that's even a little bit more central, and even just, almost kind of like the chosen people of your community who could be a range of, influencers. It could be a range of customers who have been with you from the very beginning. It could be, again, you could make it an application process, which I believe Glow Recipe ended up doing as well too. And I just think, you just need individuals outside of yourself and your employees to advertise your brand when you're not around. And like I said, there's different things that you can put in place to make your brand ambassadorship enticing for people. Because like I said, when you have a really good, strong brand, people are going to just want to talk about you and your products and everything that you're doing. And it also gives you kind of like this built-in audience or this built-in, like I said, community that really now gets to be in your favor as a brand. And I don't think there's anything wrong with tailoring your community and figuring out like who are our like diehard fans, or who are the people that are always, sending out affiliate codes and putting people onto Glow Recipe. Like, there's just so many ways that you can attack or look at the way that brand ambassadors have been utilized in different ways, or how certain companies will put certain things out or give certain incentives or certain perks. You just got to figure out exactly what that looks like for you and what you're actually capable of / what you can afford. Like going back to Glow Recipe, when they do their photo shoots and when they do their huge campaigns, they're bringing in their Glow Gang to do that. And something that I actually saw that was really, really cool, it was last year. It wasn't really like a brand. I guess we call it like brand ambassadors in a sense. I believe I talked about this when Tula Skincare came out with their complexion products, and they actually brought in a bunch of, medium size to large size to small creators who essentially were all in the campaign. And they ended up getting free publicity for that, because obviously they had their team that was actually documenting the entire thing. But all of those creators and influencers, guess what they did? They advertised that they were in a campaign. They advertised the new product. They were all tapped in. And I just thought it was really cool and really dope and smart, because now you're just getting 20 people to advertise your brand for free just because you put them into your photo shoot, right? Or again, you could look at this as the exact same way. Like you could create this brand ambassadorship community who might be the people that, that you want to invite to specific events, or that you want to send PR out to, or like I said, that you want to, have them possibly maybe even add them to the team one day. Like, I think there's so many benefits to having brand ambassadors for your brand. You have to have them for 2024, because like I said, it's got to be more than just you telling people and the retailers that you're at to tell. And again, those retailers aren't going to tell nobody to buy your product. Like, they obviously have goals and KPIs and certain sales, particular objectives that they're trying to achieve, but no particular company or retailer is going to tell anybody to go ahead and buy your products, right? Because at the end of the day, they've got different initiatives and certain things that they have in place. But if you now create this community within your community that are out here promoting your brand without you having to say anything or without you having to be front and center, then you actually have a brand. Like, let's talk about it. Like, when you are the only one talking about how awesome your products are, I'm sorry, you don't really have a brand. Like, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but a brand lives on without you. A brand lives on without anybody knowing who you are. And despite who you are or where you are or what you're doing, you want people to be excited about your brand, so much so that other people are excited about your brands as well too. It's kind of like the new age word of mouth marketing, like social media. Everyone has a gripe with it, but I just think this is the way of the world. And you've got to figure out, how do I do word of mouth marketing without having to actually get up and actually talk to somebody to, make sure that they're excited about buying my product? Or what can I do outside of that? We've just seen different brands do this. I mean, we see it with events, we see it with trips, we see it with all these different things that brands are doing to entice people to want to be ambassadors and whatnot. One thing that I want to see more of for sure is the, change of the influencer trip, not necessarily being so influencer based, but more like genuine brand ambassadorship community based. Like, I've been seeing this in the last 6 months where, people are just kind of tired of influencers a little bit, they're kind of tired of seeing the haves get everything. Or people that are already, super duper successful, get to go on trips or get PR or certain things like that. And so I want to see more brands in 2024 treat their community like they are the superstars, or that they are the influencers, that they'll sit there and, essentially pay thousands of dollars to talk about their products, which I understand from a brand perspective, you want the best return on your investment. But I'm sitting here and telling you, you could probably get more people to be excited about your products and your brands from other, quote unquote, people that are just kind of living their lives, but still have that relatability element as well too. And that, again, is still rooted almost like in this, like I said, community within the community. So brand ambassadors, your brand needs to have that in 2024. Now, last but not least, I wanted to talk about, again, taking off this conversation of community, which is all about creating an offline community, but then also doing events for that offline community as well. And I'm really into brands, creating offline communities, and when I say offline, I mean like offline on social media, meaning like if your community is only on Instagram or your community is only on Facebook or TikTok, sure, you have a community of people, but do you really have people that are going to be excited to come out for your brand, excited, like I said, to talk about your brand and so on and so forth? No, you want to create a safe space for your community that is off the digital markets, and you actually get an opportunity to connect with them in person, IRL, if you will. And I just think this is really important. I mean, after post 2020, we saw all the brands that put all their bread and all their coins into events and going all out and whatnot, which I think is really, really dope to see, because when you're able to curate experiences, like I said, those are the things that people actually remember versus your products, right? Or you've created and curated such an awesome experience so that your products kind of sell themselves in a sense, or they're beautiful backdrops to a beautiful moment and a beautiful, experience, or like I said, function or event that is rooted in something even deeper than just buying product per se. So I think when you're able to now take that community that you've been able to foster and build from those digital platforms and actually take them offline and into the real world and actually connect with them IRL, you then get an opportunity to actually know them. And like I said, kind of similar to what I was saying about the audio and video podcast, where you're getting, your customers and your clients and your community get to see you in a different light. This kind of works the exact same way, where now we're actually getting to be in each other's aura and energy and space. And you get to actually learn who, like I said, likes you for you, who loves you for you, who, yes, might be so intrigued about your product, but are more excited to come to your events because of the experiences and the way that they feel. And like I said, those are things that people resonate with a lot more than just, buying products. Like products are products are products. Like I'll say that, I pretty much say that every single day, because I feel like so many times people focus on product and not on building the community or like building the brand or like making sure that their marketing is on point. And those are all things that I think are super integral to you having a successful beauty brand in 2024. But having offline events, I saw Say Beauty, they had a running club. I know Summer Fridays, I keep talking about the same products, but these are just same brands, but these are the brands that I've just been seeing doing really well. Summer Fridays, they had done their Pilates class in partnership with, I believe, the Pilates class, or just a different Pilates company. I've even talked about this before when Live Tinted, they were coming out with their concealer. They were hosting a bunch of, they hosted like a concealer tour all across different Ultas, where Deepika, the founder, was meeting the community IRL. They were getting shade matched IRL. I thought that was super cool. And although there are these digital elements to it, and you can still capture social media footage and whatnot as well too, I think the offline events, I think the things that really garner the community building, which sometimes you don't necessarily get on Instagram or on TikTok, you're now able to do in person with real people. And those people can also start putting a face and name to who you are as a founder, so that they understand who you are as an individual. Because I think as a whole, we're all just looking for people to understand us, right? We're all just looking for those connection points. And so when you're able to do that with your community in person and create an experience that's memorable, like I said, that's the thing that people are going to hold on to, right? And they're going to think to themselves, wow, like this brand is more than just selling products, or they get me, or I know the founder, I have that connection. And so I think as a whole, like that is really what is like a true testament to a successful beauty brand in 2024 and beyond, is your ability to create experiences and make people feel things outside of just, the results they get from products. Because like I said, anybody can buy any products from anywhere and get results, right? If you use the product long enough, if you spend a certain amount of money on a product, you can go ahead and do that. But I think the correlation now becomes wanting that human connection that we weren't able to get during the pandemic, and people just wanting to have more of those moments and wanting to be in those spaces as well too. And just now more than ever, I mean, the world is in shambles. There's so much there's so much toxicity everywhere, and there's so much negativity everywhere. And so I think if you're a brand that is able to create and curate a safe space for your community and bring them into that fold, doing activities. I know Topicals is constantly, doing events with their community, whether it's baking class, whether it's pole dancing class, whether it is, just having a conversation one-to-one with a dermatologist. I mean, they're always doing things like that. And again, I don't really think it has to all be rooted in everything being expensive. I think it's just leaning into your partnerships and your relationships that you have with people and saying to yourself, okay, what can we do to make this an awesome event that of course has our products and our brand in the background, but we want to facilitate these experiences for people so that of course we can curate them and we can, put them on social and say, hey, we did this and hey, we did that, but really taking those experiences offline as well too. So overall, y'all, let's run them through again. 5 things your beauty brand needs to have for 2024, an audio and video podcast. I just think it's a must. Having an audio and video podcast for 2024, I just think it's a must as a brand. Like, instead of looking at your business as just a business, start looking at it as a brand. And that podcast, that audio visual, you controlling your own narrative is going to be super duper important for 2024. AI and tech initiatives, for sure, creating something that actually shows that you're innovative and that you're willing to do things differently. But again, doing it on your terms and actually including your customer base into that process as well, letting them know that we're doing this to make you guys' lives easier. And we also want to be ahead of the game. Beauty merch, definitely. I think this is just a given, whether it's limited edition or again, in partnership with another company. I think beauty merch is just the way it's going to go. And it's just another way for people to get a sense of who your brand is out in the world without actually knowing what your brand does, who you are, if you sell products, if you sell tools, if you sell supplements, if you sell actual serums and lotions and whatnot. I just think it's a way for people to get a sense of who your brand is, and it can also open up conversation. Brand ambassadors, for sure. You need those super fans. You need to turn that community that you already have into this like super fan community of people that genuinely and actually, love your brand to pieces. And that can actually go out into the world and tell people exactly how to do that and treat them right by giving them certain perks and certain exclusives. It's just the way to go. And last but not least, offline community events, creating those offline experiences for those brand ambassadors, but as a whole, just your community, because we're just moving away from everything being so digital. I think now more than ever, people just want to have real human connection. And so if you're able to foster that, if you're able to do that, that's going to keep you in the mind of community and, of communities and consumers and customers when they're saying to themselves, well, I'm in the superstore, I'm at Sephora, I'm at Ulta, I'm at Target, and there's so many brands, but who are the brands that I really resonate with? Or who was the brand that had a really dope event? Or who are the brands that had a really dope podcast? Or, oh, that person's wearing that, merch or that shirt or that hat. And so I'm going to check them out. Like, all these things are going to be really, really important for the integrity of your brand, I think. I think now more than ever, we're just seeing people getting really sick and tired of, a brand launching every 2 seconds. And I couldn't agree more, especially with the influx of celebrity beauty brands. So if you're now able to create a brand that feels genuine across the board and you're in control of your narrative and you are just doing things differently and innovatively, you're going to last. Like, that's just really what I want to speak to. You're good. And that's really the goal, is you want to last so that you can eventually sell your brand or have it be a legacy brand. But in 2024, if this is not your sign to just start and just put it out and get it done, I don't know what will. Y'all. But until then, I appreciate everybody for tuning in to this episode of What's New in Beauty. Of course, leave me a comment, leave me a question on Instagram at Socially Savvy Nia, or I believe you can also do a little question box, Q&A response stuff on Spotify as well too, which I think is super dope. If you love this podcast, send it out to a fellow beauty brand founder who definitely needs to listen to this and definitely needs to be put on game for 2024. I want to set you guys up for success, and that's just what I genuinely love to do. So take all of these, take some of these, maybe take none of them. Hey, 2024, we just literally got started. And so again, the sooner you do them, I'd say, hey, the sooner you have more opportunities to shine and be successful. But again, these are all things that I just think your brand just should be doing anyways, regardless of it being 2024 or not. But definitely it's time to get on your Zoom, y'all. But until then, I'll catch you in the next episode.